Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. Today, our instructor is Mr. John. John is back with us again with another lesson that he has to teach us, which is machine hacking. So, Mr. John, the floor is yours, and all the best.
So, thank you, Karim. It's a privilege to be here. And hi, guys. So, basically, today we're going to do a box. It's basically a machine from offensive security. They offer free boxes actually around 50 plus. So you don't have to pay for anything or a voucher in order to play them. So today we're going to tackle HA Natraj. It's a special box, and that's why I choose it to present it in this session, because you're supposed to do some SSH poisoning, and then from there the privilege escalation part is really interesting because we are playing around with the system services. So we are basically restarting system services as other users, and then we basically use GTF4 bin to jump into root. So without further ado, I already have a nmap scan. So basically, we can check the results. So I'll just use Vim. You can use your favorite text editor. From the nmap results, we can see that we have SSH port running on port 22, and we have port 80, which has a Apache web server. So let's start up with the Apache server. That is the port 80. And you can see that it's just we can use Opalizer. You can see that the web server is Apache. So this is content delivery networks. So we have Cloudflare there. System was detailed. So we can go ahead to using FF to fuzz the web browser. So for the directories, that is. So I'm lazy. I'll just try to get this from my history. So that's better. So we already have a /images directory. So let's check out the /images directory. And you can see we have a listing of all the images. So if this was a Windows box, we could have downloaded the images and checked the property order and try to get all the names so that we can try to do something like authenticating the names. Yeah, we have a /console directory. So let's check it out. And we see that we have a file.php file, and it displays nothing basically. So we can use Arjun to basically try to enumerate the parameters. Yeah, so to basically try, I think around 51 parameters in my local word list, and then whichever of them matches, then it will of course give it back to us. So interestingly, this exists with an error. So okay, let's try to find some of the common parameters like page, etc password, and then of course we need to give this the absolute path. So that fails. Can you change page to file, I guess? And that works. So you can control U to view them in an ordered way. You can see that we have basically some users. So I'll just get out of this nmap directory, make up a directory. So I'll just make up a directory called www. From there we can make a file called etc password and then save it. Yeah, that. So we have those basic users. We try to get the log page. So the log page for maybe we saw SSH was running on port 22. So for instance, the log page for SSH will be of course in the /var we said in the other session that /var is a system default root directory that stores the system variables, right? That is content that will be variable over time. So if you, so most logs are variable because they will be like added content each and every time. So that's why we get the log file for SSH in /var. So /var, and then we just go to log, then /org.log, right? Yeah, and we can see we have that. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to log into SSH. Of course, I don't have the password or the username. So I'll just try it so that you can see it on the log file. So I'll just do SSH, then John. So John is my name. Yeah. So I'll just say yes, and then give it a random password, and then cancel that out. So refreshing this, we can see that my username was wrong. So invalid user John from this IP. It's the same one as my Tanzero IP. So yeah. So what you can try to do now is log poisoning, SSH log poisoning, and we'll basically, instead of giving it a name, we'll give it a valid PHP code. And remember, the server that is running behind this website is Apache, and Apache, of course, will execute. PHP code will run under Apache server. So that will be executed. Valid PHP code. So I'll just give it the PHP tags right here. And then we can just use the system function. And then we have some global variables in PHP like underscore, so $underscore get, and you're telling it to get parameter 0. So I'll try to execute that, or rather send it to the server, give it a random name, or basically a password, then cancel it out. So refresh this. And what you can see is that we have an invalid user from this, and we're not given the name of the user. So the reason behind this is because the username is valid PHP code. And of course, when it's executed, you cannot see it using raw eyes. So it's already being executed. So what we can do here is include that parameter. We can say and 0 equals to ID. So what you'll find here is we get the ID that it's www data. So what you can try to do now is get a reverse shell. And one of the most easiest way to do that is basically getting the PHP reverse shell from, I think it's Plaintest Monkey. Yeah. So of course, for me, I already have it. So in my web root, so I think it's rev shells. Yeah. Rev shells. Yeah. And I have this guy here. So I just copy it from there. So copy this, and then so we must give it a destination. Yeah, file destination thing. So let me get my Tanzero, and then we can use Vim to edit this guy here. Okay, so this is the IP address. So we have to delete port, right? So we can get the Tanzero there, and then use server. And then from there, we can try to upload this to the web server. And actually, the way I got this, it's so I think it's default in Linux machine. I guess you can get it in /opt, not sure. So I'll just use wget here, and then we can give it the IP address and then the name of the file. So in our server, we get a hit. And so I think this was uploaded in /console. So basically, if we go here, okay, if we go here, we can see this guy here. So we can set up a netcat listener. And the way you do that is you specify that you need to listen on port lit, right? And then you can now execute this guy here. And you get a shell back. So you can list the files. Who are we? We are user www data and all that. So let's come back here. So I want to increase the size of this guy here. And then we can, of course, have another file here. So this is not important because this was just a server. So what you'll try to do is stabilize this shell so that you can use it, right? So I'll use Python. So mostly I have some of this stuff saved in my clipboard. Then I control Z. So what this is doing is calling Python 3 and then executing this in a one-liner. So you're importing the PTR and then you're spawning the bin bash executable in Linux. Then you're setting the term environment variable to xterm. So that means it's a Linux terminal, pseudo terminal. And then you control Z to background the process. Now we can use the stable shell here to, so this is stdio echo, then foreground, and then reset the terminal. Then you are setting the rows and columns, right? So now we have a valid reverse shell where you can control C without exiting it. Yeah. So now we can go back to my web root, and basically I think in HTTP I have some good scripts where we can use to enumerate for privilege escalation, right? So one of the good scripts is Linux smart enumeration.sh. So that's what we are going to use. So from here we can navigate to /temporary directory, and we can set up the server here. So wget and then something like that. So we have it. We can give it the executable bits and then execute it. So of course we don't know the password of the user. And one of the things that we can note here is that we can restart Apache, right? So you can restart Apache as any user without a password. So that will come really in handy. And then we have this file here. It's Apache configuration file. And we are told that we can read, write, and execute it. So that will also come in handy. So what I'll be going to do is I'll be sending this over using netcat to my box. So did I just forget how we do that? So netcat, and then so basically my box is on that IP address, and then we are just going to use port 444 and then send this guy here. Then in here we can now use netcat stack nlvp, so that will be like listening, and then on port 444, and then we just need to save it to apache2.configuration file, right? Yeah. So also we can give it a like timeout of 1. So we are already reasoning, and then you can send that. So okay, that's interesting. So let's listen again, and then we can just do that. Then we can cancel it there, and then cat apache2.conf. So we have it here. So we can use Vim now to go around checking what we have here. And you can see that we have variable user and group. Now, since we can execute, we can restart the Apache server without any password. We can restart it with another user. So if we get a reverse shell, we basically get a reverse shell as that user, right? So, and remember we have, or basically we can just read it from here, the etc password. like that, and then we can just grep with anything ending with this H, right? So let's see. So grep that, and you can see user Mahakal. So that is the user that I'm just going to edit and include him in my configuration file. So this will be really quick. Let's see. So I've already edited that. We can get our turn 0 and then set up the server. From there, we can just get back this guy here. And I guess, what was the name of that thing actually? So the name was this one, apache2.configuration file. Yeah, so let's get that guy there. And now we can now replace this guy here. So we'll just copy Apache2 to this guy here, right? And then we can just come back here and restart that service. So remember, if you stop the service, you'll be kicked out of the box. And since you are running as a service, so www is not a real user, he's a service. He's a service user. So if you stop the service, you'll be kicked out of the box. But if you restart rather, you'll be able to upload another reverse shell and get the reverse shell back. So let's do that. And then let's use sudo here. So yeah, we were kicked out of the box like that. And then if you come back here and reload the page, so the Apache server has already started. Now we can use the netcat to listen for another shell, for another connection back. So of course you have to refresh the page in order to send another reverse shell. So I'll stabilize the shell pretty quick. And then we can just use now the stable shell, right? So interesting, I canceled that. Yeah, at least. So we need to control Z to suspend the process. I'll keep it in, so I'll keep it in awaiting mode. That's how they call it. Now we can use sudo-l to see what user Mahakal can run as root. And he can run the nmap, whatever. So one easy way to like get a root as nmap is just do sudo and then like that, then tac interactive like that. But then that fails. So we need to rely with GTF4 beans here. So GTF4 beans. So, and then you can just select nmap. And you can see now we have this option here. So I'll just be executing what is like given there, nothing complex. And just like that, now we are root. And we can go to /root and get the flag. So cat proof.txt. Okay, I guess that failed. So I'll just run reset like that to reset the terminal. Yeah, and then now we can cut this file here. So that was our flag. Yes. So any question so far?
Okay, John, thank you very much for the brief introduction and detailed presentation on machine hacking. So some of the questions are, what other services and ports can be exploited in machine hacking apart from port 80?
Okay, so basically, when you run a service and it's of course exposing a port to the outside world. So by outside world, I mean that if I carry out an nmap scan to scan what services you're offering, I'll basically see that port. You can be pretty easily, it will basically be exposing you to some external threats. So ports like the MySQL ports, the MS port, I think it runs in port 1433, I guess. Yeah, so those are ports which are like really risky. When you go to like Windows, the Samba ports, that is 445 for SMB. So SMB means service message blocks. So it's just a way that Windows used to share files. Port 22, port 21 for FTP. Those are pretty common ports which you can like attack, because most of them will allow maybe anonymous binding, anonymous login, which is really tricky. Yeah.
Okay. So you've demonstrated, I believe, one tool so far for exploitation. So somebody is asking what other tools can be used for machine hacking apart from Nmap?
So Nmap is a tool, yeah, right? But mostly I tend to believe, or or I tend to tell myself Nmap is just a utility which I use mostly, which basically is a tool. But some of other tools you could use are maybe Rust Scan. They basically do the same thing as Nmap. Another thing you can try to do is another thing you can try to use is Bloodhound. So that will come in handy when you're doing Active Directory. Yeah, basically there are many tools. They usually come in mind when we have that challenge at hand. But thinking at them like just out of the bat, it's a little hard. Yeah.
Perfect. Somebody also asked what vulnerability was available on the box that you exploited. Like what is the name and things like
Oh,
that.
so one of the things that we saw on the box is that we were able to fuzz for files, and then we were able to find out that there's a console directory that had a file. So basically this was hidden from us, but then we were able to get to list files from the server. That is called local file inclusion. We were able to include files from the server, and that's how we included the log server, or basically the log file that basically contains all the logs that the SSH service is running on. So if the SSH service sends some error messages, it will basically be entered in this log file. So using that in mind, we were able to pretend to be logging in as a weird user, where the username was some valid PHP code, and we were able to get remote code execution. So what we did there was SSH log poisoning. From there, we are getting a reverse shell connection back to us because we are able to upload files to the server and execute them. Yeah.
Thank you. The last question is where can people learn machine hacking?
So there are a ton of websites to learn machine hacking. One of them, and I think my personal favorite, is Hack the Box. There's also Try Hack Me. There is OffSec. I basically love OffSec clubs. Like I really do love them because, as you have seen, they are reasonable and pretty easy for beginners. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. John, thank you very much for spending your time with us today. We really appreciate it. And if there's any more questions from the candidate's side, then definitely we're going to approach you and inbox you the questions and try to provide answers for them on that note. Well, guys, thank you very much for attending this session. See you on the next one next week on the same time and place. Take care. Thank you, guys.